This recording exists because writing it down stopped working. Paper travels. Screens sync themselves to places I don't control. Even when I delete things, there are copies somewhere, some version waiting to appear again when I'm not expecting it. So this file is the only place the thoughts go now. Spoken once. Saved locally. Nowhere else. If they stay here, they don't appear in other places. That's the idea. I'm not making this to sort anything out. I know what I know. The point is containment. A single location where the thoughts are allowed to exist so they don't settle somewhere else. Sounds strange saying it like that, but I've tested it enough times to see the pattern. When I think about certain things too clearly, they start repeating in my environment. Small ways at first. Notes I didn't write. Reminders appearing on devices I keep offline. Once, a sentence showed up in the margin of a grocery receipt I'd folded in my pocket. I recognized the wording immediately. It was something I'd been turning over in my head all morning. After that, I started limiting how much I thought about it. And when thinking became unavoidable, I recorded instead. Since I began doing that, the appearances have mostly stopped. Mostly. The first time I noticed anything wrong was during a routine inventory shift. Quiet room, low lights, long shelves. I was counting equipment tags and reading serial numbers aloud into a handheld recorder. Standard procedure. Keeps mistakes down. I remember because I said a number that didn't belong to anything on the shelf. Just slipped out. I stopped, checked the label in my hand, and the number was different. Completely different. At the time I assumed I'd mixed up two items in my head. Happens when you're tired. But later, when I transferred the recordings, the spoken number was still there. Clear as anything. And written in the inventory log beside that item, same number. I didn't write it. I know I didn't. My handwriting is consistent. The entry looked correct, but it didn't feel like mine. I corrected it and moved on. Small error. Nothing important. But over the next few days, the same thing kept happening. Numbers appearing in the logs before I checked the items. Little notes in the margins. Reminders that used phrases I'd been thinking privately. Not speaking. Thinking. That's when I started the first recording like this. A simple rule. If a thought felt like it might leak into the world, I'd say it here instead. Put it somewhere contained. The results were immediate. The logs stopped changing. The stray notes stopped appearing. It was quiet again. For a while I believed the problem was attention. Like when you notice a word repeated everywhere after learning it. The mind highlights things that were already there. But there were too many direct matches. Whole sentences. One afternoon I was reorganizing a storage cabinet when I caught myself thinking a specific phrase. Not anything dramatic. Just an observation about the room being colder than usual. Later that evening, when I opened the supply checklist, that exact sentence was typed across the bottom of the page. Not in the form field. Just there. Same wording. Same punctuation. I checked the printer history. Nothing unusual. I checked the computer logs. No edits recorded. I erased the line, made the first containment recording, and went home. No further appearances that night. So I kept doing it. Whenever a thought started forming around the pattern, I came here and spoke it instead. Afterward, the environment stayed stable. Stable enough. There were a few times I tested the rule. I tried deliberately thinking something odd to see if it would show up somewhere. A short phrase repeated silently for a few minutes. Nothing happened. Then I spoke the phrase into a recording. Still nothing. So I assumed maybe the problem only occurred with unrecorded thoughts. But then last week something changed. I was reviewing older recordings to make sure none of them had been duplicated or uploaded anywhere. Just a precaution. Everything looked normal, until I noticed something in the transcripts. Each file has an automatic transcription layer, offline software, nothing networked. I don't rely on it much, but it helps search for keywords. In the first few recordings, the transcripts matched exactly what I said. Then, about halfway through the archive, there were extra lines. Not spoken, just present in the text. At first I thought it was a glitch, misheard words, or formatting issues. But when I listened back, the audio contained silence where those lines appeared. The software had written sentences that weren't in the recording. Sentences that matched thoughts I remembered having at the time. Thoughts I specifically chose not to say aloud. I stopped reviewing the files after that. For a day or two I considered deleting everything, wiping the recordings entirely. But that would remove the only place the thoughts are allowed to exist. If I did that, they might start appearing somewhere else again. Logs, receipts, margins, or somewhere harder to notice. So I left the archive alone, and I kept making new recordings whenever something started forming in my head. That's what this is. Just another container. There's something else I noticed tonight. Not a change exactly, more like a correction. Earlier this evening, I was listening to a file from 3 days ago, about 15 minutes long. Mostly routine observations about the storage room, the lighting, the temperature fluctuations. Near the end of the transcript, there was a paragraph I don't remember seeing before. I replayed the audio several times. The paragraph isn't spoken, but it's written clearly in the transcript. It describes the moment I supposedly realized the pattern, how the thoughts move outward unless they're placed somewhere deliberately. That realization, except I didn't understand the pattern 3 days ago. I only noticed it tonight. The transcript contains an explanation written before I figured it out. I checked the file metadata. Creation date, 3 days ago. No edits. No later modifications. Just the same recording I remember making, with a transcript that now includes something I hadn't thought yet. I'm not trying to solve that. That isn't the purpose of these recordings. The purpose is containment. One location, one file, thoughts placed here so they don't appear anywhere else. If I keep following the rule, things should remain stable. At least that's what the earlier recordings suggest. Though, there is one possibility I've started considering. Quietly, not something I want to think about for too long. Because if the pattern works the way it seems to, then maybe the thoughts aren't leaking outward. Maybe they're just appearing in the nearest available record. The one place already designed to hold them. Which would mean this archive isn't preventing the spread. It's where the spread is happening. And if that's true, then every time I make a recording like this, I might not be containing the thoughts at all. I might just be giving them another place to appear later. Somewhere I'll only notice once it's already written.